I am ready. And we are recording. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is Dr. Amina Ali. I am coming to you from the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. And today we are going to be talking about the emotional intelligence and the leverage of it in leadership. I am going to be hosting you for about an hour. We are doing this live both from Clubhouse as well as Zoom. So it will be recorded. For those of you that have come on to the link here on Zoom, please make sure that you keep your devices muted. For those that are on Clubhouse, thank you so very much for listening in. For those of you that are interested in the replay, it will be simulcasted on YouTube, and I will be able to send you a link if we are connected on WhatsApp. Okay, so we are going into the leverage of emotional intelligence. Now, this is something that has always intrigued me, this emotional intelligence. We started off with artificial intelligence, and now we're into the emotional side of it. And these were thematic terms for years, and they spoke to a greater understanding as to what it is we needed to do versus what it is we were called to do. And this is where I guess the greater credence is seen. Okay, the artificial intelligence is things that were fabricated in a lab for the sake of trying to replicate the neurological side of the brain. Okay, the right brain people were so objective to this because they were saying, you know, it takes away the creativity and it takes away the objectivity of the focus and the meditative pieces that people need to have when they make proper decisions. However, the left side or the left-brained people, they believe that this was a great advantageousness into the side of the left that maybe is not as creative. It helps to be causative in generating thoughts and feelings and analytics that maybe the left brain is not able to do, you know, the very logical side. So when we talk about that, we have to leverage the understanding of what emotional intelligence is. And we're going to look at it on 3 points: normative, causative, and reactionary. And these are the artificial intelligence of anything that deals with human rights and gender-based violence, gender-based rights, which is what we're going to be coming into. Now, when we speak on this in a greater scale, we speak on it for the understanding of what gender rights are and what human rights are, and that being a household word now. And we have to bring that into focus when we start talking about things like moral injury and traumatic stance and thematic reasoning in solution and all of the things that bring us into focus in bringing this home. Gender-based violence is a huge topic that we talk about in the Federation. But what we want to realize is that there has to be a human rights before we get to a gender-based rights. So in knowing that the emotional intelligence has to lie in how we subjugate it, how we break it down, and how we analyze this on 3 levels: normative, causative, and reactionary. Now, what is normative? Just breaking down the terms that we're going to be using. Normative is the establishing and relating to or deriving from a standard of behavior. Now, as we know, pre-COVID, we had a very passé mindset when it came to human rights and gender rights. We tend to think that this is a thing that we just could pass by, especially in leadership. We didn't have to deal with human rights. We didn't have to deal with gender rights. We didn't even have to deal with leadership as long as we were effective or we were in a focus, a mindset. Maybe we were getting our 15 minutes of fame on social media. We were seeing ourselves as leaders. We even changed the words a little bit, and we went from leadership to influencer. We went to social media magnate and mogul and all of these words that took away the term leadership and just gave us a status. And this status, it bloomed into something that was so hard bent on changing because we wanted to see ourselves in a different light. We wanted to try to take away that leadership piece, that efficacy, that authenticity, that responsibility that we had in leadership. And we just wanted to be seen. We wanted to be validated based on likes and dislikes. We wanted to be understood based on how many people came aboard. And we had to have that little K at the end of the numbers that we had. If it was 1,000 or 2,000, you know, we even came on and made a special video because we got to 50,000 or 100,000. But Again, what are you saying? Are you just getting on there and doing a couple of dance moves and people are coming on? Or are you leading people in the direction of what it is that they need to go in? Well, understanding that the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights wants to make human rights and gender rights a household word, we had to make sure that what we were doing was quality work, not quantitative, but quality. And that qualitative stance was what we wanted to bring into the newness of tomorrow. Now, this post-COVID mindset is a new norm that we're establishing. So the emotional intelligence has to have a higher level of efficacy. So if we're looking at emotional intelligence in human rights and gender rights, we have to be looking at it in an understanding that we are bringing this forward in a great way that is understood both in those that are in the field and those that are coming in the field, those that are young and those that are, kind of seasoned in this work. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to take it to the stage of being popular. This is not where we are. We're not trying to be popular. We're trying to be effective. And there's a greater stance in what the influencers are and where the leaders stand. And the leadership in this emotional intelligence is going to be leveraged based on how effective we are. Now, I teach a fellowship in gender-based violence and, of course, in peer mental health. And we're finishing up on the maternal care in making policy for rural women that are birthing. But what we all have in common in all three of the fellowships is we have a normative, causative, and reactionary. And as we said, normative was establishing, relating to, or deriving from a standard of behavior. The causative is the action that is the reason something exists or operates or perceives. It is the pathology of a thing. So this is where it's coming from. And then the reactionary is to alter a way, option, or your performance and behavior due to an awareness of something being watched. So this is where the social media comes in. This is where the leadership takes on the formation. This is where it hardens and it solidifies and becomes the foundation of what we do. The reactionary thing. This is if it's being wanted, being taken into account as a truth, and it is being watched. So the reactionary thing has to change. And what does that mean? Pre-COVID, it was one way. During COVID, we were kind of looking at the scale of things and seeing where it was going. And then now post-COVID, which is where we're coming out of, we have to see it in a different light. Now, what are the solutions? What are the new norms? What are the new solutions that we're going to be dealing with when we deal with leadership in gender-based violence and human rights? Okay, so this is going to be a huge debate. And I'm glad that everyone is getting their hats on and they're making this a hard-charging look into what it is that we're doing. Now, we all call ourselves leaders. Some of us are leading us into artificial intelligence. Some of us are leading us into causative business dynamics or analytics in social acceptance. But what we're not looking at is the term leadership in its goodness. And this is where I think we need to push the envelope. So many of us want to be influencers and social media magnets, and they want to be the Jeff Bezos of social media, and this is not where it really is. We don't want to make our money amounts or the count, the 100,000 and 50,000 be the mark of success. We want to be effective in what we're doing as leaders. And I think when we come into the emotional intelligence of leadership, we have to see that the leadership is of our presence. So we have to show up. We can't just be this thing that, says something one time and gets a lot of likes and then we just fade into oblivion. We can't ghost our way through the understanding of what we're doing. We have to be present in real time. So I'm doing a lot of these simultaneous simulcasts, which is being offered today on Zoom as well as Clubhouse. And I'm offering different arenas so that the leadership can be seen and understood in its full faculty. So when we talk about this full faculty in this leadership in normative, causative, and reactionary, we have to look at the normative function of it. And this is a checklist, the standards, and the confidence in what we're doing. The checklist is what we want. These are the things we're going to go through when we go through the 5 points that we're going to go through today. And then we have to go through the set of standards. What is it that we're going to give? Are we going to stand on this? Or are we going to just lead this by design and just hope that people just get it? And then what is the confidence that we have within our own leadership, in our personal adaptation? Do we have to upscale ourselves a little bit, or do we have to downscale our personas and what we represent? Or are we ready to take that next leap of faith and be the effective leadership that we are looking for and that we are dealing with in society? And this is where we're going to come in to what we're doing, how we're scaling up, scaling down, or measuring its affect. And the checklist is going to be really, really simple. This is going to be based on what it is that we need. What does society need in our leadership? If we are those that are in business, what are they asking for? You know, in business, we just got our first female African, and this is just, oh my goodness, I'm doing a side note for a minute, in the World Trade Organization, and she is so, oh my gosh, I just can't even speak on it. If you don't know her, Google her and make sure that you understand who she is. But knowing that this queen is sitting on this throne right now is saying that trade is going to be so equitable and so magnanimous that we are going to see a whole shift in how we do business. Women are going to have so many different avenues of trade that we are going to have our own hustle within our hustle. And I think it's going to be so amazing. And she is sitting on this throne because this is what we need right now. We need this female energy in this space, and we're going to do all of her checklists. And she said, it'll not be business as normal. It will not be business as usual, and that's intentional. And that's what I respect and love about her, that she said it will not be business as usual. She has no intention on making it business as usual, because the checklists are too great as to what we need and what we desire in the new side of business. And I am so proud of her. I am so proud to know that she is sitting in this space. She's Nigerian. She is phenomenal. She is powerful, and she is understanding what it is that we need. And it was so effective that they put her in that seat without any cause, any problems, any counterbalance. Now, if we're in social media and we're looking at who we are, we have to look at Bridget Hyacinth. And if you don't know who she is an HR guru. She's on LinkedIn. She's on every social media magnet. She is seen and understood as the common sense to HR. She sets it straight. She makes it plain, and she understands what it is, because the checklist and getting our careers and our jobs and making sure we stay in these positions and get promoted and get pay raises, which is different than promotions. And most people don't think that promotions and salary raises, they run synonymous. No, you can stay in the same position, but if you show the value to your worth, you can get more money doing the same thing. And she's teaching it. Another big person is in medicine. And if you don't know Valerie Chambers is a doctor that is coming up, and she is the youngest doctor to take on who she is in cooperative medicine. And now we used to call it a hospitalist, or someone that is in hospital administration, but they're talking about cooperative analysis now. We're taking the plasticness out of competent care in healthcare, and we're putting it back into the people. And she's seeing that the bedside manner in healthcare is gone away. You know, people are just so robotic when it comes to healthcare that she said compassion has to come back in, or she's leaving. And this was so powerful when she said that. And this is where Dr. Chambers is coming in and bringing a full force with her. So when we see magnets like this, we see this as leadership. Yes, they are social media magnets. Yes, they are coming out in full force, but their leadership is what they're known for. So this is where the emotional intelligence comes in when we deal with checklists. Now, there's another piece that is coming into this, the normative standard. Now, this is going to be a little different. This is what we give. Now, the standard of care is going to be different post-COVID. We can't do the same things we've been doing because it's not going to work. It's not the same world that we were in before, and it's not the same thing we were doing before. So it's not going to work in the same way as it did before. But what it is going to do is it's going to present a way that is going to give a different side to our leadership. So that means we're going to have to tweak it a little bit. Instead of just going into the rooms of those that we know, we're going to have to step in new rooms and introduce ourselves. We're going to have to go into old rooms and help to reintroduce ourselves. And then we're going to have to look into the rooms that we're in and ask ourselves why. Why are we comfortable here? Why is this room something that we need to be in right now? And why are we effective in this room? Why were we effective in this room? And is our channel of leadership the same? And if we can't answer yes to that question, if we can't bring yes into the equation of this, then we need to change the factors of that equation. And that means we're going to have to tweak ourselves a little bit. Our leadership cannot take on the same stance that it did pre-COVID because our days are different. Our mindsets are different. And because we have been cast into a different normative, we have to be causatively different. So that means we have to have an action and the reason that something exists. We have to be the reason, and we have to stand in that truth, and we have to validate ourselves. No longer are we going to accept someone coming in and saying, oh, well, Kennedy is going to be the new face for no, Kennedy is going to be the new face because Kennedy is going to be the new face. We're not going to step in here and say Fatima is going to hold truth to be this next leader. No. We don't need someone else to announce us. We're going to come into the room with a big placard that says we're here. And we're going to step into this with this empowerment because this is who we are as a people. This is what we are as leaders. And this is how we're going to change the dynamic. And the last thing in our normative function is the confidence in ourselves. So that means that we're stepping into this room with this light illuminated placard that says that we are here and, hear us roar. Then we got to be confident in what we're saying. We got to be confident in what we're speaking. The tools, the gifts, the abilities, and the reasons we are in that room have to be solid. Even if we speak with a shaken voice, we're still speaking. We're not going to mute ourselves. We're not going to reduce ourselves. And we're definitely not going to take ourselves out of the room because we feel inferior. No. Our leadership stops when we stop doing that. Our leadership stops when we continue doing that. Our leadership begins when we step into that room and we own it, not in arrogance or an atrocity to a macabre mindset, but when we know that what we're talking about is powerful and we know that our voice is sufficient. This is where our leadership comes in, and the intelligence to know what room we are to lead in and what room we are to follow in is where we're going with that. So how does this work? Now, we talked about normative, causative, and reactionary, and I'm going to keep bringing that up throughout our conversation because I want to remember why we're doing this, why our leadership is important. The normative is establishing, relating to, or deriving from a standard of behavior. So this is where we're coming from. If we're talking about business, if we're talking about human rights or gender rights, if we're talking about social adaptations to STEM or STEAM, if we're talking about STEM or STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, if we're talking about going into healthcare, or we're going into a diverse understanding of cultural inclusion and sensitivity, whatever we're talking about, our voice is sufficient. Even if we've only been in it a year, we've been in it a year enough to lead someone that is coming into this. So we're going to take our leadership and we're going to point it in a direction of understanding what we are doing. Now, this derives on a human-centered design. Now, I'm going to explain that. The normative, causative, and reactionary is on a human-centered design. And this means that you're going to embrace the belief that all problems, even the seemingly intraceable ones, like poverty, gender equality, and clean water, are solvable. But moreover, it means that believing the people who face these problems every day are the ones who hold the key to their answer. Now, what does that mean? And I'll read that again so that we can get a better understanding. The human-centered design is embracing the belief that all problems, even the seemingly intractable ones, such as poverty, gender equality, and even clean water, are solvable. Moreover, it means believing that the people who face these problems every single day are the ones who hold the key to their answer. This means stakeholders, shareholders, empowering people right where they are so that everyone ends up becoming a leader. Now, I know some people are saying, well, if there's so many Indians, we won't have enough chiefdom in here. No, because the leaders will emerge. Anybody that is a natural and organic leader will rise up in any community and be the face. You didn't see Martin Luther King coming up and saying, I'm going to be your next leader. No, he spoke truth and rose to that place. You didn't see Mahatma Gandhi saying, oh, I'm going to be the face of India. No, he spoke truth and he became the spokesperson for India and the world for some takes. Same is true for people in the African continent. Now, Marcus Garvey is the one that got me into the whole thing of the Pan-African and the diasporatic voice. But when we went over to Africa, Kwame Nkrumah was a huge piece when I was coming up in the 70s and 80s, and his voice was like ringing in my head. And of course, him being that solid voice in the African voice was someone that I respected dearly. And then Kofi Annan, who was someone that I recognized and one of the people that got me involved in the United Nations. Kofi Annan, may the Lord rest his soul, got me to understand that there was a human dynamic to the roles and rights and responsibilities that we had. So we had to see who these people were, but none of them woke up in the morning and said, guess what, I'm going to be a leader today. All of them used their talents, gifts, and ability to rise their voice to the place that they became. And this is where you, as that person that is venturing into that emotional intelligence in leadership, is going to have that normative, causative, and reactionary measure. The causative piece is the action that causes the reason something exists. So you're going to be the cause of this. If you see something that's awry and you see something that needs to be fixed, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to be, and this is where you're going to step in. So we're going to look at this in 5 points, and these 5 points are going to be defined for us in the human-centered design. Now remember, the human-centered design is embracing beliefs that all problems, even the seemingly intractable ones, such as poverty, gender equality, and clean water, are solvable. Moreover, it means believing that the people, stakeholders, shareholders, and those that are in the community face, and those that face the problems every day are the ones who hold the key to their answer. Now, how do they do this? This is broken down in 5 dynamics. The first one is the empathizing of this solution. As a leader, you have to empathize. Now, how do you do that? This is understanding the problem. This is not the political stance of just speaking about the problem and talking about things and trying to get your 15 minutes of fame on social media. No, this is the understanding of the problem. This may be going to a relative and asking them, or someone that has experienced this, what is your take on it? Now, what does that do? That does one of 2 things. That allows them to understand their voice is heard when you ask that question. And then the second reason is it allows the person to begin to give their opinion. Now, their opinion may earmark a certain transition in how we get solutions, how we get things going, how we see this tomorrow in this thing, but it also opens up what you can do, what you as this leader can do, and what you are called to do. Because when they start speaking, you need to be listening with both ears and all of your mind. And you need to be listening to that. So we're going to do this in a few ways. In this understanding of the problem, we're going to do a small interview. So we're going to go to these people and we're going to ask questions. What do you think happened? Why did this happen? Why is it still happening? What do we think happened in society that caused it to happen? So you're going to ask those interview questions. You're going to see your leadership in asking these questions to the people, not speaking in a political stance at a town hall and making yourself sound important. No, that's not what we're doing. We're going to the people that it involves. We're going to grassroots. We're going to get on the ground and we're going to talk to the people that is involved in the problem. The people that didn't cause the problem but found themselves knee deep in it. We're going to ask the hard questions and we're going to listen with both ears and all of your mind, as my grandmother used to say. We're going to seek to understand why these people are still in this great line of suffering in this. Why are they still dealing with this? What is the government not doing? What are the people not seeing? What is the leaders not standing up for? And why is it that it's still happening in 2021? I mean, if this is something that is a quick solution, and if we can think of greater solutions, why is it not happening? Why are the people not revolting and getting this going? We have wars to get people out of office, but we don't have wars to set a standard in what it is that we want in our societies. Why is that still happening? We need to ask these questions. Next, we need to shadow the people. One of the things that I did when I was trying to understand the plight of the homeless is I slept outside. Something as simple as sleeping outside. I bought a sleeping bag and I went outside in one of the coldest nights in January one year, and I slept outside with someone that was homeless. I had to find a way to keep warm in January in New York. I had to find a way to open up my mind to what it is that they needed to do to get food, to get clothes, to get a way to be warm, because even though you sleep outside, what are you going to do when you wake up? Are you going to stay outside, or are you going to go inside and get warm? So if I didn't have any money, how can I go into a cafe and get a warm cup of coffee? So maybe I had to panhandle. Maybe I had to go out and beg for money, or maybe I had to go to somebody and borrow the money that I probably couldn't pay back. This is the plight of the homeless. So you had to emphasize, you had to shadow them, and you had to shadow them in understanding what it is that they were dealing with. You had to shadow their moves, go where they went, seek where they sought, and be where they are so that you can understand their plight. And then you need to have a non-judgmental approach. This means that if you're standing in their place, you can't say, well, why wouldn't they go inside? Why wouldn't they seek shelter? You can't be judgmental and have all the stigmas that people have about the homeless. Oh, they need to get a job, or they just need to stop using drugs, and all of the things that people have when they deal with leadership. They deal with it in a stigmatic mind, which is what they are coming from. But they need to deal with it in a very empathetic mind. And this is understanding the problem. Nobody wants to be homeless. Even those that are mentally ill don't want to be homeless. But they find themselves in a system that categorically pushes them aside, labels them unapproachable or unimportant, and they allow them to sit in this augmented mindset that allows them to believe that they're not worthy. That is so far from the truth. That is so far from reality, and so far from what we want to see for everyone, that it is bogging my mind. It really just boggles my mind. Number two, we got to define the process. So this is conceptualizing the problem. So number one is empathize. Number two is define, conceptualizing the problem. This deals with a few things. This deals with the personas that are dealing in this problem. So when we're dealing with effective leadership, we have to understand the people, the actors in play. Are we dealing with a lot of mental illness? Are we dealing with people that just don't know what they don't know? Are we dealing with people that are just so used to dealing with not having that they don't know the approach to having? Or are they dealing with a government that they just really don't trust, and they don't believe they're going to ever rise out of it? So they're just dealing with satisfying survivalship instead of thriving. So we have to understand the people, the actors in play. So although those that are in the problem are closest to the solution, who are these people? Who are these? What is this demographic? What is this data? What is what are the people that are dealing with this problem? Are they dealing with it because historically they've had to deal with it? Are they dealing with it because geographically they had to deal with it? Topographically they had to deal with it? Or mentally they had to deal with it? Who are the people? Then we have to deal with the roles and objectives of these people. Are they rural people who really are cast out of the city, or maybe just never adapted to an urban way of life? Are they comfortable where they are, so we just have to bring the resources to them? Are they so geographically pushed away from anything intentionally that they can't get to the resources, so we have to be that role and function for them? Or are they in a stance that, like I said, they don't know that there are other things out here there that exist? So we have to be the eyes and ears for them and bring it to them. So in your leadership, you have to understand the roles and objectives in that problem. If we're dealing, let's say, with clean water, if you're in a rural area, if there isn't a channel that brings the water there, they will never get clean water. So you have to be the connecting point. So your leadership, although you conceptualize the problem, you have to understand what the role and the objective is in that thing you're trying to solve. If you're trying to be a bridge from one thing to another, like you're the educational piece for the people of the past to the people of the future, or if you're trying to educate the young so that they can bring a new idea to the elders or those that are of the past, then you have to understand what the past was and what the new leaders or what the future has to hold. So if you're that bridge, you have to understand what it is that are, or who are making the decisions in that role. So if you're conceptualizing the problem, who are the decision makers? Is it the elders? Is it those that are leaders like yourself? Or is it those that are coming tomorrow? Are they setting the tone for the new leadership? So you have to see who is making the decisions. And this is huge, because if you're a leader, you're automatically making certain decisions because you're deciding to lead. So what are you leading with? Are you leading with the problem, or are you leading with the solution? Because I've been in so many circles where they spend 2 hours talking about the problem and not 1 minute in the solution. And that boggled my mind. I don't know why you're standing here talking about, okay, we don't have water in the rural areas of the Gambia. Okay, we understood that 30, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, before I was even born, there wasn't water supplies in rural Gambia. But if I'm sitting here in an ability to bring a channel from the Gambia, who is surrounded by water, above, below, to the left, to the right, why don't we have water sources in the rural areas? And why are the people not developing equitable means to get this water to them? This is the problem that I have. So as a leader, I'm going to be that bridge. I'm going to go to those business people and I'm going to say, look, if you want to bring more commerce to your area, then you need to bring the rural people out of the rural areas. And in order to do that, you have to set them up for success. And I'm going to be that leader to go to those business people and say, put some capital into the rural areas and get them into the city. Bring them into the city and give them jobs so they can bring money back to their own areas. You won't have to do a thing if you allow them access to the rural areas. Maybe bring a mode of transportation. Get a bus system out there. Get a train system out there. Maybe get a league of taxis that, you know, for a fee once a month, you get a little card and you allow them to go from the rural areas to the city areas and you'll be able to get a job. Get a formidable mode of transportation from the rural areas to the urban areas, and I guarantee you the rural areas will be more industrialized within a year, because they're going to bring their own resources. Most people are just needing an opportunity. That's why we talk about getting involved with the people. Most people just need an opportunity and they'll do it themselves. If they need water and they need a channel and they need it to be dug, they'll get a shovel and do it themselves if they get the industry to invest in them to be able to get them the tools and the equipment to do it themselves. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen people give money to the villagers, and the villagers have ordained their own water system, their own hydroponic planting and agricultural system. As long as you got that waterway to them, they're going to do it themselves. So that goes to the challenges. What are some of the challenges in what you're conceptualizing as this problem? As a leader, if you have challenges, are you meeting it with solutions, or are you meeting it with other obstacles? Because if you're not clear in your approach, it's another problem. If you're not helping them understand what it is that they have versus what they need, you're going to prevent them from getting where they need to be. So what are the challenges that they're being met with? What are some of the things, whether it's money or whether it's resources, whether it's subsidies or just someone getting in there and organizing it? What are the challenges that are being met? What are the things that they are not seeing, and what are the things that are not happening? And what are you as the leader bringing to the table? Next, what are the pain points? Now, the pain points are really, really huge to me. And when I say pain points, pain, P-A-I-N, points, these are the things that keep happening in that same area for that same situation in that same manner. That means leader after leader after leader keeps coming in and doing the same thing, expecting something different. That's called insanity. But it's a pain point for the people that are living there because they keep getting that same dysfunction. They keep getting leaders that are going to come and make a change, you know, especially around political years. Oh, we're going to make a change for the urban areas, and we're going to make an impact on the rural areas, and we're going to do this and da-da-da, and all they want is claps and applause and yays and all that. No, I'm not going to clap for you until I see what you have done before that political year. If you were on the ground, boots on the ground, doing something before you went in there and you sought office, I'm going to support you. But if you're doing this just to get an applause and get votes, I'm just going to look at you crazy, because you're not here for the solution. You're here to get votes. It's clear. Believe people who they tell you they are the first time. And if they are not clear in what it is that they are resounding as answers and solutions, walk away quickly and take everybody that's next to you with you, because they are not here for the solutions. They are here to charge up people to remember the problem. Those are pain points. I don't need you to remind me of the suffrage of people that were brought here from the African continent. I don't need you to remind me that my ancestors were brought from the Republic of the Gambia over here to the United States, and we were dropped off as indentured servants and slaves and all of that. We were not slaves. We were Africans that were enslaved. But I don't need you to keep reminding me of that. Today is the actual anniversary of the Republic of the Gambia. One of the reasons why I did this, because my leadership is going to be understood both here and in my homeland of the Republic of the Gambia. And I'm letting everyone know that this leadership is not going to be political. It is going to be hard charging in a human rights, gender rights balance. So whether I'm heard today on the 18th of February or I'm heard next 2 years on the 18th of February, I am going to be heard in the leadership that is causing the leadership to be better, the emotional intelligence of bringing this forward. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to keep reiterating pain points in the people in the Republic or those of the diaspora living here in the United States. I'm not going to keep doing that. I'm not going to keep talking about the fact that, you know, I was born here in the United States. Can't help that. But what I can do is I can make my people better in the Republic of the Gambia. Why? Because I was educated here in the United States. Now I can bring this back to the Republic. And what I'm going to do and what I am doing is bringing this knowledge back to the Republic. This is live streaming and it's going to be given to the Republic for their evening news feed. And what we're going to do is offer this as a continual ongoing social media campaign to make sure that this message is carried out. It will be on YouTube. It is here on Clubhouse. Of course, we're streaming live here on Clubhouse and we're streaming live on Zoom. We have a live feed that's going to be going on Facebook to the Republic of the Gambia for the evening news this evening. Because it is 1 o'clock here in New York, it is 5 p.m. There in the Republic of the Gambia. So in an hour, they're going to be live streaming in their news channel. And we are going to be bringing this going forward. And what we are looking for is we're looking for solutionists. So I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be a human rights activist. I want to be a solutionist in the understanding of leadership with emotional intelligence. So we talked about empathize. That is one. That's understanding the problem. We talked about defining it, conceptualizing the problem. That's number 2. Number 3 is ideate, which is throwing things out there. This is ideas in motion. Emotional intelligence is motion of ideas. This is the motion of ideas, whether they're thematic or they're concrete. They're actually happening on the ground. This is ideas in motion. This is the verb, not the noun. Ideas are a noun. The motion of it is the verb. So this is moving. So whether it's a small thing that we're doing right now in the looks of things, or it's a larger thing that we're doing, and remember the larger thing is the small steps leading to the bigger solutions, that we're going to ideate moving forward. So number 3 is ideation. Number 3 is ideation or sharing of ideas. So what does that mean? That means Winifred, who is streaming live on Clubhouse. Hey, Winifred. Hey, Kenny. Hey, Fatima. We are getting Winifred into what she does best. So let's say Winifred is into STEM. I don't know. I'm just making it up. Sorry, Winifred. But what happens if Winifred is in STEM? So that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, so let's say she's an engineer. Let's just put it out there. Winifred, the engineer, she has this thing where she says, Dr. Mina, you know what? I want to do my internship in the Gambia. And I'm like, all ears, you know, in all of my mind, as my grandmother says. And she says, I want to make a transportation system that's going to take those that are from the west coast or the western coast of the Gambia, which is way inland to the country. And I want to bring a transportation system that circles the entire Gambia. So it goes from the western port to Banjul, from Banjul back to the west coast. And we want to make a circle. And we want to make sure that it's like a subway system or a train system that takes everyone from the rural areas of the west to the urban areas of the east and Banjul, maybe even to the airport. Maybe that'll be the last stop at the airport. And then we go circle from the airport all the way back around, and we make stops in between to different areas. And this port is going to be a port call that's going to have bus systems that go to the subway. So if you're not right there at the train system, you're going to have bus systems that take you to the train, and that the bus systems are going to run maybe every 20 minutes. And it's going to take you from your city to the train station, and then back from the train station to your city. And we're going to do that several times a day. And I want to put this in motion. And I'm an engineer, and I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to plan it, and I'm going to set this up. What do you think? Well, you know what, Winifred? I'm going to pour as much money as I can humanly make into your pocket to make that happen. Why? Because we're going to share these ideas amongst the people, and we're going to raise the money. And the people that are in these areas that need to get from the rural areas to the urban areas, guess how much money they're going to start pooling out? because we're going to invest in this idea. Because Winifred said it could happen. Winifred is making it happen because her idea is what we're going to share with the rest of the world. And we're going to give that a causative mode to be able to make it plausible. And this is where we're going to make it a reality. So it went from thematic in her mind, what she thought, to tangible, which is on paper, to a human-centered intelligence, which is making it real for people, to actually on the ground, digging dirt, breaking ground, and setting up the pillars to get this trans-country system in place. This, in the next 5 years, is going to make this a reality. So when we throw ideations out there, we're going to see Winifred's Gambian transit system a reality. And she's going to do that because she wants to see this a reality in the Gambia. She realizes it's cheaper to do it in the Gambia than, let's say, Nigeria, because it's a smaller area, less money, less area that she has to transverse. So she's going to use this as a pilot program. So the next one is going to be prioritizing. So we're going to prioritize how much money she's going to need, how much subsidies she's going to need, the resources, and then how much support she's going to need. And we're going to prioritize it based on what we need right now. We need people to get from the country to the city so they can get jobs, so they can bring that money back home and be able to restructure their own community. And we have to prioritize what the needs are the most. So we're going to do those checklists. Remember, we talked about the normative function where we have the checklist of what we want. So we're going to write it down. So before we even break ground and we give Winifred that first check to break ground, we're going to do those checklists. We want healthcare first. So we want people to go from the rural area to the urban area to get trained in nursing, to become doctors, to have a clinic. So we're going to get people to come and bring that forward so that we can have structured healthcare in the rural area. So yeah, we're going back and forth to work, but do we have to go to from the rural area to the urban area just to get quality care? No. If we're going back and forth from the rural area to the urban area, why not go and get educated? And why not take the next 2 years or 3 years and get educated as a nurse and then bring that back to your community? So now, instead of going from one area to another area just to get quality care, you can stay right at home. So we're going to prioritize our needs. We need a law system. So we're going to open up a police area so that we can create jobs to have a police area. So we're going to keep our community safe. So we're going to have our boys, 18 to 21, to go and train with the military so they can have paramilitary training as police officers. So we're going to put a little bit of money into that. And then we're going to have another checklist where we're going to have a greater commune of ideas to put together an educational system. So Winifred is not just putting a train system in order, but she's making educators go back and forth so that they can train. And this is where we're going to get our normative, functional asset list in place. And we're going to throw these ideations out there. Next thing in ideation is we're going to adopt a yes and thinking mode. What does yes and thinking mean? We're going to say, and again, we're going to talk about Winifred in this transcontinental thing. We're going to, Winifred, I know, is just giggling here because she's just like, yeah, it doesn't make a difference. We're going to do it. Yeah, she raised her hand. Yeah, see? So we're going to use a yes and thinking. Yes and, Y-E-S-A-N-D, thinking. Yes and thinking is one of the things that I like to plug into my speaking engagement. We're going to say yes and such and such and such. For example, Winifred is going to say, we're going to have this what is it? What did I call it? A trans-country subway system. Kenny is going to come forth and she's going to say, yes, and we're going to train people how to drive buses. So we're going to bring in a bus driving, company from, let's say, Senegal, that's going to teach all of our women and men how to drive buses so that we can learn how to drive buses to the subway system. So that yes and thinking is, yes, we're going to have this and we're going to put this forward. And, if two come in the cause of a name and claim something, it's going to happen. And if we know that we put great dua and prayer into it, it's going to manifest. And if we think positive in that and we keep co-creating things around that, it will eventualize. So if Winifred is making the rail system, yes, and Kenny is making the bus training system, then Dr. Mina has to come forth and she's going to make sure everyone stays healthy so they can stay on their job. So Dr. Mina is going to bring in a health team to make sure that everybody is checked off on that list as healthy. We're going to be COVID negative. We're going to be malaria tested. We're going to make sure that our immune systems are up. We're going to make sure that we have great crops to eat so that we stay healthy, because we're going to be coming in contact with thousands of people every day with this bus system and this train system. And if we get sick, who's going to drive the buses? Who's going to drive the trains? So Dr. Mina says, yes, Kenny, and she says, yes, Winifred, and we're going to bring this system going forward. So that yes and thinking means we're going to agree to what we're already establishing, and we're going to add our talents and gifts to that. So we're adding to the measure. This is the greatest level of support, because we're saying yes to what's already there. And then in that same ideation, we're throwing solutions in there that will complement it. And we're using our own talents, gifts, and abilities. So we validate ourselves, we validate what is going on, and we add fuel to the fire in making sure we have competent solutions. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to talk about is the testing of the mission. Now, we talked about empathize, understanding the problem, that's one. We talked about defining it, which is conceptualizing the problem, that's number two. And we talked about ideations, or throwing ideas out there. And under that, we talked about sharing ideas, yes and thinking, and prioritizing the mission. Now we're testing the mission. This is putting it forward. So we're going to have mock-ups. We're going to have storyboards, vision boards. We're going to reiterate the program really, really quickly. So if anything, Winifred already has it written down. She already has it conceptualized in her mind. She already has it where she could just stand in front of this podium and she could speak on it for 20 minutes, half an hour straight. Then we have Kenny that's going to come and back it up. And she's going to be like, okay, thank you, Winifred. Coming behind Winifred, I'm going to add to her program and say, I'm going to increase the number of competent people that are going to be trained in buses to get them to this trans country system. And how we're going to do that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she's going to start listing how she's going to do this. Again, bringing solutions to the front. Now, what we're going to do in offering that is we're going to make sure that the competency meets the integrity. So that means we believe Kenny's going to do it. She's going to complement what Winifred is already doing, and Dr. Mina is going to come behind it and make sure everybody stays healthy. But the integrity is to put it in motion. Don't just say it, do it. So I'm going to come and hit the ground running. I'm going to be in the Gambia for maybe 6 months to a year. I'm going to stay with Winifred. I'm going to be with Kenny, and we're going to make this mission happen. And we're going to do it step by step. So how are we going to do that? We're going to put it on storyboards. Now, I know some of you see storyboards as a very childlike mindset, but I have manifested everything I've ever wanted in life, to include careers, marriage, children, the house that I live in, the fact that I'm able to work in the UN internationally, based on a vision board and a storyboard. Put it up there. I just put every year, I put it up there. Every year. And even if it was small pictures, because I knew I couldn't do it right away, it was small pictures at the bottom and the bigger globe at the top, which leads me to the narrative. I used to put the emblem of the UN in the very bottom right-hand side of all of my vision boards, because I knew eventually I would be able to get there. Then one year, I got tired of pushing it at the bottom, and I put it in the middle. And do you know that's the year that I got my contract? That was the year that I got my first contract. So now I'm kicking myself. I'm like, dude, I could have done this 2-3 years ago. Like, what are you doing? I mean, like you're stifling yourself. So that's why I say that. We're going to put it on there, and we're going to put it on there as though we are achieving it today, because that is how we're going to look at this. We're going to look at it, achieving it right now in this moment, because I'm one of them types. I'm impatient. And my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren can't wait for tomorrow. They need it actualized now so that it'll be a household word by the time they get of age. And I need it done right now. I'm very impatient. So when I employ people and I train people in fellowships and I put people in positions, I'm not waiting for you to take Instagram pictures and put on social media what we're doing. No, I need to see you on the ground doing it. I need to see your nails dirty. I need to see your boots muddy. I need to see your shirts torn up because you got sweat and blood and mud and muck and mire on it. This is what I need to see. I need to see your hijab hitting sideways because you done got it dirty. And every time you wipe your brow, it shifts to the right. I need to see that. I need to see you getting dirty because you're making matters better for someone. And somebody's child is going to thank you later. They're going to do a report on you in school. And they're going to say, Winifred, engineer Winifred made it possible through her trans-coastal or trans-country subway system or train system to get me from the rural areas to the urban areas. And I'm the first woman in my community to become a doctor. How did I do that? Getting on that train every day. Now Winifred has been validated in that integrity because she knew if she didn't keep going, that little girl wouldn't have been able to get on that train every morning and go to school and become that doctor for that community. Likewise, Kenny, who was the person that allowed the bus to take her from her rural area to the train station every day. If she didn't get her to that train station and then Winifred get that train station to that city school, that young lady wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's the integrity. Doing it now because the reap of the reward will be later on. I'm impatient. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. You will go down in history, her story, I like to say. You will go down in her story as the person that did it. Why? Because you will be the one that will actualize what has happened in the greatness of it. So doing it on those storyboards, putting it out there right now, putting those little pictures of a train system in the middle of a storyboard. And remember, whatever's in the middle of your storyboard is what you're going to actualize right now because that's the first thing you see. Everything around it is the things that are going to feed into getting that goal together. So can you have more than one storyboard? Absolutely. You can have one for health, for wealth, for marriage, for, I don't know, your career. You can have as many storyboards as you want to, but put it out there. See that vision every day. Put the thing that you want, your goal is in the middle, and every little picture that's around it is the thing that's going to feed your goal. Simple. Storyboards are so simple. You don't even have to think twice. Put the biggest picture of what you want in the middle of that storyboard, and then everything that leads to it. So if you're saying you want to be a doctor, put the picture of you in a white coat with a stethoscope around it in the middle, and then put education above it, put support from your family and money around it, put medicine at the foot of you, put your elders at the feet of you. Why? Because of course you're going to be standing on their shoulders. So you got to put that elder energy in there, and you're going to actualize becoming a doctor. And you watch. If you put that board up, every single year, medical school will go by so fast. Your internship and residency will go by so fast. You will be actualized as your first year. Private practice will go by so fast. And you will see that becoming a doctor will be quicker than you thought. You sitting here, oh, it's 8 years, it's 12 years. Oh, I don't have that much time. Well, if you grow 12 years older, you will be 12 years older. So why not be a doctor in 12 years? If, like you say, I'm 30 and I'll be 42 by the time I finish all this. Okay, so you're still gonna be 42, right? So why not be 42 and be a doctor? Why not be 42 and setting the generational, ending the generational curses and setting the standard? Why not make that thing going? Why not make the plans? Like Winifred has already put the plans in motion. She just needed a place to start it. Why not make the support that Kenny is putting forth and say that this is what it is that I need to do and how I need to do it. And I'm going to support Winifred because Winifred is the one that's putting it out there. She's shaking. I'm nervous and I don't know what to do. So you know what? Kenny's shaking and nervous and don't know what to do. But guess what? They're going to do it together because they're going to support each other. When two come, I'm not even gonna make this a sermon. We only got a few minutes left. But when two come and we put that mindset together and we understand what it is that we are doing, we support each other. When two come, 4 will come, 6 will come, 8 will come, and we will have a team in front of us before we know it. And whatever it is that we are doing will manifest. I'm telling you, those that are within the sound of my voice will understand this to be true and right, and will get the message in its full entirety. They will understand it. They will know it. And when they empathize, understanding the problem, define, conceptualize the problem, ideate, throwing things out there, and then test it, beginning the mission, you will see those small steps will manifest into the entire intellectual, emotional intelligence to their leadership. Solutions will be sought. You will be the next president, vice president, I don't know, secretary general, whatever it is that is necessary. And you won't even have to be thrusting into politics. People will put you in that place. I don't care how much you beg, borrow, and steal to be in a place. If you're not doing the work, the mission is fruitless. So I am asking each and every one of you in this last minute of this telecast, I am asking each and every one of you within the sound of my voice to sit for a minute and figure out what your mission and purpose is and what your why is in this post-pandemic COVID-19 time. Then I want you to sit with the emotional intelligence that we just talked about, breaking it down: normative, causative, reactionary. What is your normative function? That's your normative checklist, your set of standards, and your confidence in yourself. Then what do you empathize, define, ideate, and what will you be testing? And I want you to sit down with all of that, put it into perspective, and announce what it is that you're doing. If you do this, I am telling you, the strength, the vigor, the leadership, the support, the resources, the subsidies will come. I promise you. It's like the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. They will come and they will support you, because your leadership will stand amongst those that just speak about doing something. There's a difference between leadership and servitude. Your servitude will automatically ordain your leadership and will validate who you are in that leadership. And I'm just asking for the emotional intelligence, which is the planning, the organization, and the bringing forth of it, to be where it is that you are. So you are going to bring that forward, and your leadership will follow. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming today, listening to the words that I have today, understanding that you are more powerful than you give yourself credit for. I ask that you stay and remain a phenomenal source of resource, leadership, and the intelligence that is emotional, psychological, even thematic in some resources. But you are who this world has been calling for. You need to stand up. You need to be who you are called to be. And I will see you on the other side of success. I love you all. I will talk with you soon. In the words of us as Muslims, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Be well.